Hearing Trese speak for the first
I
time.
didn't really believe that dreams come
We had a great wealth of source material to get from with Budget and Kajo's work. Jay and I had discussed it initially, and we knew that we weren't going to make it a procedural case of the week because we only had 6 episodes. So we wanted to make sure that the story was going to be like a deeper, more emotional look into the character, but also still retain that spirit of the excitement of the investigation and the mysteries of the book. After we had set it up with Netflix, Jay and the art director Jojo Aguilar came to Manila. And part of that story summit was figuring out, okay, which cases then could serve that arc for Alexandra Trese to get from where we want to set her up to how we want to show her at the end. So, and that's how we narrowed down what we wanted to do. But 2 of the ones which Jay, also really hit on and which for us was also very iconic is there is a story that Budge and Kajo have called 13 Stations, which basically takes you through all the 13 stations of the MRT. And, Jojo and Jay wrote it, so they hit all those 13 stations of the MRT. And we knew it was a great way to introduce the city, plus the iconic first story of Murder on Balete Drive. So that was a natural combination for us to do for the pilot episode.
I had already in my head thought, okay, the first episode should definitely be about the Aswang, right? Because that's worldwide, I think everybody knows about that. So I thought, well, that's a fitting thing to be for the first episode. And I really like the 13th state. I love that imagery of the restaurant and the Aswang eating people. I was like, that's great. But I wanted to also tie that into the Balete Drive, which is the very first case. So we had to try to find a way to kind of finagle that, and that eventually we came to that through story of the mayor, because it ended up being that we knew that we were gonna end at the prison with the mayor, but we had to set him up earlier, so we had to try to find ways to kind of connect the dots and string it through, but so that eventually, what looked like cases that were not connected were actually all part of the overall plan. We always knew that episode 4 would be a Guerrero episode. I wanted to do a thing of just everyday life, because we had kind of followed the cases, but 4 for me was let's just focus on the everyday cop's life, and then kind of see it through his lens, and then at that point we were the last 2 episodes were done.
They respected the source material. The changes they made was in the service of telling a story, cohesive story in 6 episodes. So I think they did a great job with that.
Hearing Trese speak for the first time, it's the voice that's been in my head whenever she would narrate a certain storyline or when she talks to the characters. I think, even the cast themselves have been pretty consistent with how they speak. Hearing the new lines as well just makes me feel like, oh, our babies have grown and they can now speak for themselves.